So, guys, what can I say? It's been amazing, absolutely amazing. I got to tell you, his problems and progress. I absolutely love it. He's had a little situation here. That's why we're late. I apologise. Nothing has any meaning other than the meaning we choose to give it. So I'd like to think that you give it a meaning of I'm here and here we go. So what are we talking about? We're talking about the one thing that just catches everybody out in life. And it's fear. Fear of all kinds of different things. And one of the biggest fears that people come across as they step up, strive forward, whatever it is they're looking to do, is fear of what other people think. Some people have a fear of success. There's a list, and you've got to know what your list is. You really do. Now, as we go through this today, I'm going to share with you, I'd set it all up. As I shared with you yesterday, I had the challenge of getting the technical part working. I had it working up until about, 40 minutes ago. And my bits and pieces went wrong. But like I said, it's all good fun. You can hear me. I can't hear you at the moment, but I know you're getting the message. So what we're going to do today, let's look at what's happening. Did you or did you not fill in your homework? Now, homework's a funny word because some people have triggers that goes back to school about homework. And, they still don't want to do it. I really started learning after I left school. I learned that it was the only way to move forward is get to know more of what I'm doing. Okay. I worked in the building industry as a kid. I say a kid, 16, 17. And it was funny because I just learned it as I went along. I learned my building trade somewhere else. I'll tell you that tomorrow. It'll blow your mind. But you see, I remember working on a building site in Hertfordshire. Started off as a labourer. At the end, me and my friend we ended up running the whole site. Why? Because we was studying what we were doing. Not in books and that. We was asking the people who knew. How do you do this? How do you do that? How to is a great word. Knowledge is a great thing. But you see, knowledge is only power when you use it. It's like repetition is the mother of skill. However, you got to remember this. You got to be doing the repetition of the right thing. Because what people often do is do things, get their result, then carry on doing the same thing expecting a different result. I can't remember, I think it might have been Einstein who said that's just a sign of madness. Might be wrong there, but somebody said it, and it's true. Doing the same thing, expecting a different result. So, what it is to be human. Yesterday we talked about paradigms. Paradigms are a group of habitual habits, all linked together around one thing. And that is actually linked so deep into us as human beings. It's in every cell in our body. It really is. And when you get to understand things like this, and you go back to the stick man, and that was your homework. Did you work on it? Did you do it? Did you answer the questions? About half of you didn't even download the thing, the actual PDF. Now, it seems funny for me to say that to you, but I was fortunate enough to be with a personal trainer today. My wife and I were working out with the personal trainers, and never thought I'd be doing that. Used to have our own personal training studio. But you see, I got to a stage in my life where I certainly need to get more specialised knowledge. And what I found out is from when I used to be in the game, game's the wrong thing really because they're professionals, is when I used to be doing it, things have changed. And I always remember when I was getting certified for that, I'm sure people think I should be certified for other things, but it's like when I got my certificates for that, and there was a gentleman there, and his name was Bob Open. He's written his book, and I've got his book. I don't think it's behind me, but it's in another part of the apartment. And Bob signed it for me, and he said, "Lee," he says, "as you read this, and there's good stuff in there." And he said, learn to keep studying this industry you're in. It changes all the time. He said he at the time, I mean, that's going back quite a while for me. He was in his late 50s now, so he'd be hitting his 70s now, I would have thought. Um, Maybe, yeah, he would be. Yeah, I'm 63, so he would be. So, and he'd been in the game a long time, and he was good. And he said, the book was good, and it's moved on so much more. And the reason I share that story with you is because when you can't get where you want to go, we're going to look at the mental side of it this evening. We looked at the first part of the mental side yesterday, and once you crack that and you start moving forward, and you're going to want to share with you tonight, you would have experienced this. When you understand what I'm talking about this evening and sharing with you, and then you link it back to yesterday, and then you link it back to your goals, and it all comes together. It's a process, because as you go and grow, because you have to grow as a person. You have to grow as a person. You've got to be there, constantly willing to do what it takes to grow. So wherever you are, go from here to there. Again, my personal trainer is, I done my thing. I went down a different road there. But you see, we was talking, and she said something to me that just made me laugh. And she said, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "Well, you're talking about you're always happy, joyful, and stuff like that." And I said, "I wouldn't know when you're like that." Well, part of me would know, but as a everyday kind of person who doesn't study people and look at what's going on, you wouldn't notice it. And I said, "Geez, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, I told myself many, many years ago that I'm going to make my lows better than most people's highs." And I had lots of reasons to think like that. As I share with you my story tomorrow, that, I grew up in an environment there was love there. Yeah, there was unconditional love there. I knew that all the time. Yeah. But my mum, sadly, was in and out of mental institutions. And people don't want you to say that today. I don't care what you think about it. That's what they are. Because when we go through a human breakdown, they used to call it a mental breakdown. It's what it is. It's nothing embarrassing. It's nothing to be, looking the other way about. It's a fact. It is what it is. And the challenge today, as you go on to try and achieve what you want to achieve and do what you want to do, these straightforward, common sense things like it is what it is, they've gone out the window at at this time in life, whatever you want to say, And it's words are words. Nothing has any meaning other than the meaning you choose to give it. I grew up, my mum was in and out of a mental institution. It's what it was, A beautiful lady, unbelievably loving, caring, hardworking, one moment and then another moment, boom. And there was a trigger to that. And I'll share that trigger with you tomorrow. But I've heard people say to me, and I know you're all going to come at me with kinds of things in the chat and messages and whatever. It's cool. Because here's the thing. What we're going to go over tonight, remember this, people. What other people think of you, that's got nothing to do with you. Because what you're actually trying to do is get inside, somebody sitting there thinking about you in a way, either good or bad or whatever. They're thinking it. And you're getting offended by what they're thinking, even if they're not saying it. So, listen, I know I'm diverse, but that's an important thing to remember, that as you step up and step forward to becoming free, to live the life you want to live, to have the things you want to have and do, you will experience change. And part of that change is people and friends around you will say certain things that will either inspire you, get more of that. Or it'll be, who do you think you are trying to do that? All these different things will be said. And, they genuinely mean that, not in a nasty way. It's just, they think that, it's set. It's all set in the way it's going to be. Everything's set on your vision, your belief, and how you learn to go through life letting go of what you should be getting. Excuse me, I'll say that again. Be letting go of. And what I mean by that is, I just had a conversation with somebody on the phone, and they're in Canada. It was about an hour and a half ago, and it's so interesting that today's session is about what we're talking about: overcoming fear, bashing through the barrier, going through the door where your freedom's on the other side. Now, and he was talking to me. I knew he was playing golf, the guy, and I sent him a message, have your best game ever. And as it happens, he said, I had a really good game. He said, but I thought you, I got the guy I was playing, I kept getting inside his head for him to, get the ball in the hole and what have you. And he said, I said, oh, that's nice, thank you. He said, but here's the thing. He said, he's a psychologist or something like that. I don't know what he deals with patients, and he looks after people who've been in terrible situations in life. That's all I'm going to say about that. And he said, my friend on the phone said to me, I thought he'd be able to have such a great positive, strong attitude. He's got a master's in this and a master's in that. I said, yeah. I said, it's interesting, isn't it? I said, I've dealt with a lot of professionals and they're beautiful, good people. But you see, when you take on negative, you're taking on somebody else's. This is an horrendous part of life this guy deals with. But you take that on and take that on, that sticks to you. It becomes part of you and you don't realise it unless you have a process to take it out of your system, leave it where it should be, okay? And don't drag it around with you in life. Because, people say that things like television and things like that affect you. They can affect you emotionally, because when you put emotions to what you're seeing and hearing, experiencing and feeling, it becomes part of you. If you don't do the work that we were doing yesterday, it seeps into one of your new habits of thinking initially, or it's a picture that gets created in your mind. Anyway, so I diverged from where I was coming from then, but let's get back on track. Now, I got a lovely little presentation together for you. Unfortunately, with the technology, I can't give it to you the way I wanted to, so I'm going to have to draw this out. So I hope you like my drawings. Okay, it's all new to me. It's funny, when I use different technology, I get it to work. I'm learning how to do this, and what I was going back to is going to the personal training side of things is you have to get specialised knowledge in an area. If you want to become great at something, get specialised knowledge. What I'm doing with you, as I shared at the beginning of this, is the first time I've ever done the live and what have you. I've got this most amazing process that I've gone through each step to get there, but it's just a few technical tips. But I've got a professional who's going to help me for the next time that we go on to do a live. So everything's good because you get to learn. I think it was Warren Buffett who said, when something goes wrong, he looks for 3 reasons why, it's good. You spill your coffee over your shirt. So it's like, oh, wow, I'm so glad that, I've got a nice shirt. I'm so glad that I can get it washed and get the stain out of it. I'm so glad I've got, a few shirts at home or a few hundred shirts at home so I can change it, rather than getting all upset about the coffee on the shirt, the tie, or whatever it might be. But you see, you get a flat tyre. And the example that he shared, when I remember seeing this, and he just said, well, so grateful I've got a spare. I'm glad I got a car. I've actually got a car that can get a puncture. And, I can just pick up the phone and that's what I'm going to do, and I can get it fixed. Because what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a good vibration, because we are all energy. Yeah, we are all energy. And that's what you're going to learn today. And this is why you're going to realise that as you really do step forward and step up to a new chapter of your life, that you're going to experience different things. But you're going to get to understand them. When you understand something, it gives you a different point of view. It gives you a different experience. Now, the biggest, it's been going around for a long time, this word of, everybody's having time off work. They're at home, they're anxious, they've got this going on, they've got that going on. Well, yes, anxious is a thing. But what is being anxious? It's your nervous system. What's your nervous system? It's all over your body. It's your cells, because we're made up of water. We're made up of electrical circuits. I don't know the exact figure, but they reckon if they condense all the energy within you, all the electricity within you, it could actually give power to quite a lot of things. Power massive areas. Now, I thought that's a bit crazy when I first heard it, until I saw the science behind it. Working in the martial arts, learning the martial arts over many years, you deal with energy. I remember meeting somebody who'd written this book of martial arts, and he actually said to me, I don't believe in all this, they call it chi, whatever they want to do. Well, that's your choice, what you believe. But when you go and see some real professionals in this, in a martial art, of what they're capable of doing, it's their energy that they're using. It's their mind that they're using. You see a really good martial artist, you know when you're in their presence. I've been blessed to spend 30 plus years in traditional martial art and meet some wonderful people, and meet some people from different arts as well, all good people. I'm not going to diverse too far down there, but energy is what we are. And, it's like, what triggers the feelings? What triggers the feelings? If you think about this, that, there's things you do. I remember being in Malaysia training in the martial arts, and I'd been training with a very senior gentleman over there, Master Ung, his name is, lovely man. And I'd finished training that night, and we would go and have something to eat afterwards, which was quite a lovely thing to do, really. Very, very senior martial artist. I think I was a first dan black belt at the time, many years ago. And I was walking back to I was going to go, leaving Master, and I was going to walk back to my apartment where I was staying. And there was this little area of grass, and I'd only been in Malaysia about a week, maybe a bit longer, I don't know. I'm still learning my way. Beautiful country. And he said to me, Mr. Thomas, he said, you be careful walking home. He said, are you going across that field? I said, yes, I am. I am, sir. And he said, watch out for the snakes. And I thought, oh, yes, sir. And he had a little laugh, a little smile. Anyway, so I got a little way across this field. And if you can, I've suddenly got Master Ung's voice saying, be careful of the snakes. And he said it with a smile. He's a wonderful man. And, oh my God, have you ever been so scared that all of a sudden you're cold, you got goose pimples? I started sprinting across this field, and I got to the other side. It wasn't that far, actually, but I tell you, in that moment, I was so scared. Because one, I've never seen a snake close up. Two, I've only heard that, they're not good things in certain parts of the world. And it was just, and I'm sure you've had the same thing. There was I didn't see a snake, thank God. But think about times when you've heard something and you felt fear. And that's just a noise. So you heard something, you used one of your senses, and you made it mean something, but what you made it mean triggered in your body. You do certain things and you get goosebumps, whatever you want to call them. So I want you to really get to understand here that you experience something within your body. Because we're here, we're experiencing something new, we get a different set of feelings. Now, I've said several times, nothing has any meaning other than the meaning you choose to give it. Something goes wrong, do you see it as an opportunity or defeat? I've heard Bob Proctor live. Feel blessed to have done that a few times. To meet the man. Tony Robbins too. A couple of other really good people in this personal development world. And both of them, it's funny, isn't it? And then if you meet, there's so many good people in the industry, but hearing them talk, and it's like, it's the choices that they share with you, the choices of opportunity, is how you look at it. Bob Proctor always says, do you respond or react to life? Think about that. I've had times in my life where, my wife would say something, she'd say, what's up with you? And it was like, I don't know. What I was doing, I was reacting to life, to what was going on. Now, when you react, we talked about this briefly the other day, when you react, you're not in control. When you respond, there's a little pause and you work out how you're going to react. Now, we both know, I know when being with Tony at some events, and, it talks about that split second, that gap. It's in that gap where you train yourself to respond. And you still will react every now and again in life, because the energy comes up, the adrenaline runs, but you learn to control it. So we're talking about something here. We're going to call it the terror barrier. Yeah. Bob Proctor taught us that it's just energy. It is just energy. That's all anything is. Yeah. So where we're going to start is by saying, if you can imagine that you're here, okay, and where you want to go is here, okay. So where you're currently living is really cool. Yeah, you're loving it. Life's easy. You know what the score is at this level. Whatever you happen to be doing, you're used to it. Remember we talked yesterday, when I talk about the technology challenging me earlier, it was the microphones that went down. So what we done, we put one together very quickly. And I nearly took it with me when I turned around. So that's why I stopped to do that. So come back to nothing as any meaning other than the meaning you give it. So let's go back to this. So we said yesterday that what our senses bring in everything around us, what we see, hear, taste, smell and touch, whatever order that works for you. And that's the other thing. Take what works for you. When we talk about writing the gold cards out, yes, very important is, I'm so happy and grateful now, that is a beautiful way to put it. But if you have to put it a different way, but it's positive, that's why we jumped on the call the other day for the Zoom. And that's why we'll be available later in the week to talk about your goals, because how you write it is so important. And by the end of today, you're going to be getting more powerful with that. But you see, when you're actually at a place in your life where everything's just what, autopilot is a good way to say it. But so what we was talking about is our senses bring it in, okay? In here, we get to choose whether we want it, don't want it, going to let it in or ignore it, whatever. As I said to you earlier, what other people think of you. When you learn to think in here, well, that's their choice. If that's what, don't matter what they say. Something we often get when you're doing well in any business is people say it's all right for you, but you'll see from tomorrow when my life began, change the mistakes I've made. But you see, by changing how I work with what's coming in, what I hear, I had the choice. I can choose in this top half, the conscious part of my mind. I can choose what it means. I get to choose what it means. Yeah. Now, so what we're going to do for this exercise is just, I want you to imagine now that we've got, if you've got a piece of paper with a guy still there, i.e., or the girl, whatever you call them, you've got your stick person there. Okay, I want you to put, for this exercise, just put an X in the top, an X there, and an X here. And what I'm saying by that is where you are today, yeah, what's consciously going on, what's already programmed in this automatic part of our life, our world, what creates our habits, what our body's then doing, is going to equal our results. And it's our results, that's me drawing an R, it's our results that we want to change. So what we then do is we go to the next stage. What's the next stage? We've suddenly gone from having, we're calling it for the exercise to give you the opportunity to visually see it. Now you're going to visually see it on the piece of paper you're working on. So what I want you to do is you've got, for the first little picture of your stick person, you've got X, X, X. Yeah, your conscious mind's working like that. What's inside here is X, it's the same. What's inside here is what's having you act and do. And that's the results you're getting in that area of your life. And in some area of your life, or some areas, it's going to be fantastic. You don't want to deal with that. So all we're doing is we're picking maybe one personal goal or one business goal that we want to work with. So let's say that we now decide to say, okay, I've got a new idea coming in here. So we move over a little bit and we say to ourselves, we'll now put a Y in here. So now we've got a Y, still got an X because we're just thinking about this new idea, yeah? Just thinking about it. So I want you to put an X and a Y in there. Still got an X down here because we're just up here thinking about it, and it doesn't make too much difference in our lives. Yeah. Because while it's in there, you're not doing anything about it really. So that you're still getting the same results. You're thinking about change, you're thinking about something. So what we have to do is we have to start really now creating the real belief and faith in this new thing. We've pulled the trigger in our mind and we're going to go for it. We've made a decision. Now, if you ever want to see something funny, you watch people around you when you're eating in a restaurant. Most people can't even make a decision to choose the food. They're going to wait till you order and possibly order what you order, or it's so many things. Just listen now. From me sharing this with you, listen to when a question's asked. How many people say, I don't know, what do you think? It's nuts. And here we are talking about what goes on here, and you may be thinking, well, yeah, my new goal, yeah, my C-class goal is unbelievable, right? And then you go and share it with your next door neighbour who's got no idea of what you've been studying, what you're up to. And I say, what do you think if I go and do this? If I build a business like this, or, I'm going to take my income from 100 grand to over 1 million. Just an example before we get too excited. It's possible, by the way. A few people have done it. Don't want to go too far down that road with you today. But you see, and your neighbours goes, don't be silly. Don't be silly. It's all that positive thinking, blah, blah, and all that. And they haven't got a clue. And they go in, have his Onslow t-shirt on and his pint of Guinness and cigarette, and he's just changed your life and dropped a doubt in here. A doubt. Funny, huh? You're asking your neighbour, or maybe somebody in the family. Go to people who've done what you've done. I will rephrase that. Go to people who have done what it is you want to achieve. Too many people have just got an opinion. You've got to start safeguarding this, securing it. Because here you are now, you've gone from being settled in life. You've got a couple of ideas and now you're going to go for it. So you've got to change what's going on in here. Now you've got to get it into this subconscious part of your mind. And as you get it in there, because you're going to go through the real process of goal planning, and you're going to have absolute faith in that end result. We're going to show you how to create that, in here. Give you the picture. Okay. Having it trigger within your days. Having you so excited, you often think you've already got it. But the thing is, when it's set up correctly. So we're going to start by repetition and faith and belief. Get in there. We've got an X and a Y floating about in here. Okay? X and a Y. Remember, the X's were what you started at. The Y is the new idea. It's the new goal. It's that C-class goal. It's that wonderful holiday you've never taken your family to. It's that feeling of freedom. Yeah? It's realizing that, oh my God, this works. And then you're just going along. You've gone from, some people call just living life the way you are, this setup, being in bondage, of just from there to this, having a belief. Now, we do know up and until that belief gets into your system, it's very easy for somebody to take it away. Very, very easy. So we want to change the results. Okay, we want to change the results. So if we want to change the results, I'm going to put that there so you can just see that, hopefully. So if you want to change the results, you've done it, okay? You've got a burning desire of a goal. You've written it out. You've put yourself into this most wonderful position where you've actually written a script. What do I mean by script? Yeah? You really want this now. You believe it's yours. You have the faith to own it. And now you've put pen to paper and you're imagining, what is it like? I've achieved that goal. When my wife had this dream to build the house from the first year we got married. And, again, I got my fine effects there, age getting on, but hey, from back, I had that back in 1989, and there's a little drawing in there, and of the first kind of house, that we come up with as an idea, and we kept on and on about building these houses. So when you got something like that, and then there comes this time when it's so ingrained within you, in your nervous system, and you close your eyes and you can see yourself, feel yourself walking around your house. Yeah. Bob Proctor's business partner, God bless him, I'm sure you know he's passed on now, but you see his business partner, Sandy Gallagher, when she went to look at a house and she shared the story on stage with Bob that, she went to look at it and it was, let's for simplicity say, it was out of a price range of, when she was quite new in the industry with Bob, and she shared that, I don't know what to do. And Bob just said, either you believe in this stuff or you don't. Well, obviously she does. She's an amazing lady, and she's just proved that year on year, and results and what she shares. Anyway, so what Bob had to do was go back to the house. Go back to that house with the person showing them around, whatever they may be called in your part of the world where you are. We call them an estate agent in the UK. So, and then he said, ask them to leave you in the house. Go around and imagine every single room. Every single room. Which she did. And he said, then invite your family there for Christmas dinner. And she said, what? She said, well, just invite them for Christmas dinner. Because once you know what you want, you'll find a way to do it. And as the example is, my wife had every room in that house designed. And we used to go and look at other beautiful homes to get ideas, and she would be writing it out and describe it. And once we pulled the trigger, I had my own script, and my own script, I would get up and walk out, I would describe walking, across we had a walkway across the top of the house, and I'd have light coming in and different things. I'd walk downstairs, you know, put the coffee on and then go into my study and do what. And so that my kind of script was like that. And then I had in my script, you know, people coming around, we'd have get-togethers, or we'd go out into the pool and have a pool party, all these different things. Now, that my version was my version of the same goal, and Dolores, my wife, had her version, but she just like, it was amazing what the notes and how she'd done it. She could tell you, no, that would be like this and this would be like that, and we'll have this up on that wall and we'll do it. And I used to say to her, oh my God. She said, I got to this point, she'd done it so many times in different houses that we've lived in, where now I unconditionally would just trust her with it. When I first started, she'd say, well, this colour and that colour. I go, oh, really? But she's most imaginative lady I've ever met, person I've ever met. And when she just pen to paper, and when it goes pen to paper, it's happening. It's happening. It doesn't matter whether it's something like that, something to do with our own business, our own world. It happens. And it can happen for you. It happened for Sandy as well. Because once you've got your goal, and that's why I wanted you to do that work the other day that you haven't done. Some of you have, not all of you, I can see. Do it. Because you don't need to know how when you know the procedure. When you learn to do things in a certain way, the how always turns up. I'll tell you that now. Now, what happens? You get so far. I'm using the experience of us building these houses is because you get so far and then this wall comes. And we call that the terror barrier. What is that? That is the old you and the new you coming together, and the energy inside you. It's fear. It's a terror. People call it anxiety. Anxiety is just no decisions have been made, or you've got too many things going on and you've got no direction, no goal, and that's what happens. Is you get this an anxiety. You've probably felt it, what it can do to you. It can take you out of the game. But when you get focused, rather than being just generally all over the place, and often it's people telling you that you are this, you are that, or, you know, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, or you're going down a road you don't want to go down. You think about all those things I've just said. What are they about? They're about somebody who doesn't have goals. Doesn't have goals. Not their own goals. So you've got your own goal. And then you pull the trigger. You do something along the lines of commitment to it. And your old energy, do you remember what we said, what the X is? Yeah, it's now you're mixing it with the new energy, the Y. So this is where the anxiety comes. This is where you get nervous. And then rather than staying focused on your goal, remember where focus goes, energy flows. Rather than do that, you start doubting yourself. It is normal, it is natural to have a doubt about yourself when you go in somewhere you've never been before. But here's the thing. What we share with you when we go through these, writing your goals, getting it specific, making it dynamic, working out what's going to go inside of your mind. Talked about that yesterday. And we do the other things that go with that. It all comes together when you do the stages. Doing things in a certain way. Do it in here first. We're going to get the picture. Yeah. We're going to get the picture. And you get so far. And as that last little bit, you want to really, really just burst through into that next level, that next stage, who you've become. Remember? Be, do, have. Who you become. And as you become this different person, and the old energy, or the old little dude, remember the little voice? Whatever you want to call it. I have some clients who call it the most horrendous things, but you know that little voice can just take you out of the game. There's so much of it. We have to really guard the entrance to your mind. We're going to change for you what things mean. Because when you change the meaning of something, yeah, it gives you inspiration. When you change the meaning, you see it's just a learning curve. It gives you the opportunity to grow. It gives you the opportunity to learn something new, to become better at something, rather than letting something define you. Yeah. Because what people do is they go out for things to look right and be right. If you can't find and attract to you the right circumstances that you need, it's got something to do with your thinking. Yeah, you're going from down here up to here. Yeah, I had a client message me today. Their life has changed so much. I read the message. I was emotionally getting into tears because I know what a beautiful person this guy is, and he's worked not so hard at doing his work. He's worked hard on himself, and he's done the work. He's done all the work. He's specifically got to his goal. He used to say to me at the beginning, no. And I used to say, believe in me and believe in the process until it falls apart. And here's the other thing. Now, whoever you work with in life, don't be working with one person and listening to another. Work with somebody up until what they're sharing doesn't work for you, yeah, or they're lying. But as Bob Proctor's always said, your results will always tell the truth. Always tell you the truth. Okay? So, I diversed again, but I do like to diverse. It's who I am. I'd say what comes from my heart. So, as you get close to achieving your goal here, and your energies meet, yeah, all energies, it's all linked together. Whoever, that's why you go out and you can be out in the town, out in the city, and you bump into somebody, you feel like you've known them for a year, and you just have a conversation. And he might be the CEO of the biggest organisation in that city or town, and we are who we are, just the everyday Joe. Okay, but you've connected. There's something there. Anyway, I diverse. So what happens is when you realise you're not going to get rid of what people call anxiety, you're not going to get rid of the fear. You want to embrace that fear. And, you're calling it anxiety, whatever you want to call it. I don't. That's me personally. I'm not a medical person or anything like that. For me, it's an understanding that I'm going into a place I've never been before. It's funny, my wife said to me, when you started the first live, she said, what was it like? And I said, well, do you know what, my lovely? I said, if I be honest with you, the last time I felt like that, it wasn't before that I started. It was the few hours before we went live the other day here on streaming. I said, the last time I felt like that was when I took my 4th Dan Masters belt. I couldn't, it's just, and everything was just all over the place. And I always remember my instructor, God bless him, he's moved on, Steve, he was there because he was so senior to watch it. It was behind closed doors. And when I finished, and we were sitting talking, he said, what do you think? I said, I felt like I froze for about 30 seconds. He said, when? I said, when Grandmaster gave that the command to start, I just felt I'd frozen for so long. I was surprised he didn't say anything. And he said to me, you didn't freeze. He said, you didn't freeze. None of you did. He said, I didn't take my eyes off you all the way through the grading. He said, no. You see, that's what goes on with our mind. My instructor got me ready. He knew that could happen, but he knew that he wouldn't allow my body, my thinking to have that happen. I hope that makes sense. And I could have just stood there and not done anything. You've seen people do it in all kinds of different things in life where they freeze. Because mentally, But I always had the picture, and the picture that I created for that, if I be honest with you, was seeing myself standing beside my instructor with a master's belt on. So I lived into that. What I had to do in between was what I had to do. It was what it was. All I had was this vision of me standing there with that belt on proudly. Okay, so when you write your goal out, when you do your script, and when you start visualizing it, when you really start believing it, and you close your eyes and you can really experience it, and you have people who love and care for you saying, oh wow, that's phenomenal. Yeah, that's when we've got the thinking right. And then the terror barrier is the nerves. It's the old nerve. It's not the old nerve so much. It's the new you trying to get into this new level of that area in your life. Doesn't matter whether it's a new job, whether it's a first date, whether it's having a conversation that you got to have. Is there's a terror barrier of energy. And then once you've done it, because you know, how many times have you had built this crazy picture in your mind of something you're going to go and do or experience, and then it was so much fun, or it was really easy, or it was one of those meetings where you was done something wrong and you're going to get reprimanded, whatever it might be, in business, in life, in whatever you're doing, and then actually the whole thing was just a conversation, but you, like I have in the past, had made it so much more. Where? In here. Why? Because we had heard it or experienced other people's thoughts and things going on, and we'd made it mean something rather than make it mean something that serves you. Yeah, it's like you're in sales and you're not hitting your targets. Yeah, got salesperson who's in charge, sales manager, brings you in, sits you down, and a good one's going to say, what's going on? Good one's going to sit and get to understand. And then if they're in the position because they've worked to be there, not just been given it, which happens too often, is they'll understand it. And they'll know it's your paradigm. And your paradigm is the way it is because your goals aren't clear. If you've got a clearly defined goal and you go through and go to achieve it in a certain way. I mean, I know some wonderful people that, in business, they say, right, I'm going to do this, they do it. They just do it. Yeah, it's inevitable because in that part of their life, they know the process and they go boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Too many companies just want to grow by 5 or 10%. Stop being silly. You don't have to grow like that. You can grow so big. What's possible is absolutely eye-opening is all I'm going to say. Because if you're all thinking 5%, 8%, 10% a year, wow. Now, anyway, I don't want to diverse about that. So let's go back to what we're saying here. So the most important thing to understand here is that as you get to where you want to go, suddenly all that, whatever we decided we're going to call it, anxiety, fear, whatever it is, all the little excuses start coming up. I don't know how to do it. All this stuff comes out, and you take a breath. You say, no, hold on, actually. I know when I was there, I was comfortable. It was easy. It was it. Yeah. Odd challenges. Maybe I go up a little bit, like grow a bit. But you see, now you've gone to this new goal and you're up here, but as you get closer and closer and closer, that's where all that energy goes. Now, I've been use my hands a lot expressive because I haven't got the diagrams. I'm hoping to give you the story of you understanding that your energy and the nervousness inside and the other feelings that you get is just part of coming from the old to the new. The new's your new goal. It's who you become in that area. I said about the guy, I know plenty of guys who can earn so much in their business, it's phenomenal. But when it comes to other parts of their life, no. But if they broke down how they looked at their business and achieved their goals, they'd realise if they'd done that in their relationships, their health, something they're trying to learn or do, if they broke it down, they could achieve anything they want. Bob Proctor used to call them unconscious competence. Yeah, they can't pass the skill set down because they're not sure what the skill set is when it's broken down. Yeah, I used to just think it's about having goals and doing it. Yes, it is. You've got to have goals and you've got to be specific. But you see, as soon as you get there and you become the person you need to become, whether that's built that house. For us, my wife and I hit the terror barrier halfway through the build, maybe 3/4 through the build. We had some of our own money and things like that, and then we had an investor pull out for no reason, just decided they'd pull out when we asked them, as we do, straightforward to eye. I just want to do it. Truth never did really come out. Left us in the hole with a lot of money to pay out. So we went back to the basics of what we teach, doing things in a certain way. We found another investor within 3 days. We found the right investor. Guess what? This person had built houses before. This person knew. We knew what we wanted because we was looking up at the goal and said, we got to do this, this and this. This person was looking down and saying, no, what you want to do is allow for this and allow for that and do this and do that. So what we experienced was what initially was a big problem to us because we've been here, we've owned some nice houses before then, but we'd never built any. So it's a new experience. So we was all over the place at one point. Happened a few times through the build, but we went back to the basics. Went back to the script, went back to the pictures. We had conversations. At one time, we actually went away for a weekend just to chill out. And it was great. Went to a hotel, got a new idea to put these certain skylights on the walkway across the top half of the house, and it was beautiful. And so we done that. So well, you look back and you can put bits and pieces together and realize that everything happens for a purpose. Until you really, really believe that, you're going to let things take you out of the game. So I'm going to say to you, guys, really, really embrace that. If you feel anxious, it's because you're not clearly on one goal or something like that. Your energy's all over the place because it doesn't know where it's meant to be. Yeah, you're outside of what you would normally experience. You might be living in anxiety. Some people do. I see them, they're a bag of nerves. Up and until they make some choices based off the decisions of what they really want. So we then get them driving towards that. Yeah. I could share some stories with you, as could some other wonderful coaches and people in my marketplace have filled whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it, as long as you embrace it and you get to be, do and have the things you want. Because when you blast through that feeling and you understand it's normal and natural to feel that fear, to the little voice to go off, doubt you go, stop, whatever you use, doesn't matter. Your thing that says, no, I'm going to have a checkup from the neck up. I got that from Zig Ziglar. Yeah, God bless him. Is check up from the neck up. And what I mean by that, what's going on in here? You're using your imagination all too often for the wrong things. Use imagination for the things you want to be, do and have. Imagine it going right. Imagine doing the thing you want to do. Imagine somebody saying yes when you think it's going to be a no. Imagine letting go, commanding yourself to let go of all the things that don't serve you as a human being. You see, when you step through that door that you're scared of because of how you're feeling, because of what they're saying, or they're saying, when you just go, whoa, hold on, I don't care what you think. Yeah, I'm listening to somebody who's done it. I'm listening to somebody who's gone through this, and I'm understanding now. I'm understanding it's normal to feel this way. It's normal to have these experiences. It's not normal to stay there. People do that out of habit. Stay in lack of love, lack of money, lack of experiences. And then they start pointing the finger and blaming. No. Everything that happens to you and for you is your fault. And when you believe that, that's one of the first big steps to owning a life by design, creating your own experiences. because there's certain things we have to do along the way, and certain things, this body, this amazing thing that we all have that we get to experience. It's great. I mean, they're senses. Yeah. We're just talking about these senses at the moment. See, hear, taste, smell and touch. You wait till we start talking about the faculties inside our mind, that you might be using one or two at the moment, possibly not even to make your life more fun, more enjoyable. But you see, as you move forward with us in this work, you're going to learn about the faculties of your mind. And wow, things start happening to you so easily. You have to check in with yourself. Somebody says have a little pinch. It's funny. Guys, please do your homework. If you don't like the word homework, do your studying. I'm asking you to do 15 minutes work. If you move forward, you give me 1 hour a day. You tell me what you really want and I guarantee you get it. Just after a conversation. After a conversation, I'll say, yeah, you can do it. Not yet, you can't. For sure, I might say, no, you're just talking it. You'll never do it. Unfortunately, you might think that sounds negative. But until you're willing and you're able, and you choose and decide, till you make the right choices in those areas, life will keep giving you the same results. Yeah, you'll stay here with the X, and the X, and the result is going to be the same. You'll want a different result, but you're not willing to do what it takes to change. Love you all. I appreciate you all. Have the most wonderful evening or afternoon, depending where you are in the world. And I look forward to tomorrow's session. I'm going to share with you my journey. And hopefully, I believe from my heart to yours, it will resonate what's possible for you. Nothing has any meaning other than the meaning you choose to give it. So please give things meanings that serve you. Okay? I love you. I'll see you later. Thank you. Bye-bye. There we go.